Yes, I'm sorry.
Good. Okay. Before you get started, Jessica, Christina, are you here?
Yes, have you done the introduction?
Just briefly, would you like to say a word or two?
If I may, I'd like to read this. Jessica Jones Capperell is the Director of Government Affairs of the League of Women Voters of the United States. Jessica manages relationships and strategic planning for federal legislation and lobbying that benefits the programs and policies of the organization. Additionally, she advises and assists with aligning advocacy and legislative priorities at all levels of the organization. With over a decade of experience at the organization, Jessica builds strategic campaigns to impact areas of public policy, generates public support for relevant issues, lobbies for policy changes through appropriate channels, and maintains current knowledge of government changes and actions. And Jessica, thank you for joining us today, and please welcome.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much for the invitation to be here. I was telling Sandy and Denise and a couple others earlier that this is like one of my favorite things to do is to talk about advocacy with our state and local league members. So I appreciate the invitation. I am about to celebrate my 14th year here at LWVUS at the end of the month. And I just got to tell you, working directly with our members has been just a joy the entire time. Not every day, but the entire time mostly. Y'all are amazing. So thank you very much. But let's jump into it. This is exactly what Sandy already said. We're going to just talk a little bit about who leads our policy work at the national level. Just do a basic what is advocacy versus what is lobbying. I'm introduce you to my team as well. So you can also go to them if you have questions. And then we'll talk about impact on issues, legislative priorities, program planning. We'll do all of the things. And then we'll also talk a little bit about what you all can do and provide some additional resources that we've developed at LWVUS for our state and local leagues directly. So this is my amazing team. I could not do my job without the 4 other members of the advocacy team that you see here. Kristen Kern and Rebecca Goldman primarily work with me on federal legislation. So Kristen works on our democracy portfolio, which is a big task. And Rebecca leans in on our democracy portfolio when needed, but she also works on all of our social justice issues. So that includes things like climate change and immigration, and she's been very busy this year. And then Khadija and Brady are legislative and policy coordinators, and they are primarily tasked with working with our state leagues to help you all achieve your advocacy goals and work on your policy priorities. They track state legislation. They provide resources. This week? And so they're an excellent resource if you ever need anything. But we all lean in wherever we need to. And this is my small but mighty team, which I'm very proud of. When I first came to the league, it was just me and that. So I'm very proud of this team. Okay, so I like to start any conversation when I'm talking about advocacy with a shared understanding of what advocacy is. So this is advocacy is defined. There we go. Advocacy is defined as encompassing supporting or opposing a cause or recommending a position or policy. So it also includes educating the public or policymakers on an issue or policy area. And it also includes building support from the public, from our league members, from those who are just supporters of the league in support or opposition to position or policy. Advocacy activities are often considered educational, and such activities include, but are certainly not limited to, things like lobbying a legislator, their staff. It includes, lobbying at their county council, at your town council, at your city hall, at your county administrator's office. Includes things like, the president, the United States, Congress. And lobbying is just one type of advocacy. And it's usually an attempt to directly influence specific legislation. So this slide, as I said, lobbying is defined as an attempt to influence specific legislation. We have some definitions on our website. On the league management site, there is an advocacy versus lobbying page. So to constitute direct lobbying, a communication must either be directed directly to a legislator, their staff, or other governmental employee who may participate in the formulation of legislation and refer to and express a view on specific legislation. Or it can be directed to the general public and refer to and express a view on a specific referendum or a ballot measure as well. So a couple of different places, but I think that, lobbying is advocacy, but not all advocacy is lobbying, because we're not always saying vote yes, vote no on a specific piece of legislation. As I said, advocacy is often education, as well as it is lobbying. So I just sometimes it can get confusing. And if we have questions and you want me to go back to this at the end, I'm happy to do so. But I want to make sure we know that there's both, and sometimes they go together and sometimes they don't. But lobbying is always advocacy. So, okay. So advocacy at the league. In this chart, I want to say comes directly from Impact on Issues. And I usually have my visual aid of Impact on Issues, but it's somewhere in the rest of the room. At the beginning of Impact on Issues, which is our guide to LWVUS is the guide to public policy positions, there is a section called Taking Action. And everything that I am covering today in that in this slideshow can also be referred. You can also go back to the Taking Action section of Impact on Issues. I read it in anticipation of this presentation. Every time I read it, I remember or see something or new or am reminded of something. So that is a great resource for you all to take advantage of. It's Taking Action section at Impact on Issues. And this chart is right there in the booklet. So a reminder that the level of league, so national, state, local, regional, the level of league follows the level of government. And you can use this chart to determine when approvals are needed for action. So the LWVUS board takes the lead in national action and keeps league action synchronized with the US Congress. But there is a role for every league in national legislation in many circumstances. For example, when responding to an LWVUS action alert, a local league president can send a message on behalf of the organization through the action alert. But members are also encouraged to respond to action alerts as individuals. Please note that using the action alert tool to send a letter to your representatives does not require the submission of a federal action request form, because LWVUS has requested that you take that action. If you are looking to take action outside of a LWVUS action alert request, this is a great chart to use to figure out to discuss this action and make sure that I have approval. So at the local level, you can contact your district representatives or executive branch offices or federal agencies, but you also need to make sure that you talk to your state and the National League before you do that. And I'll talk to you about how you can make that request to the National League in just a moment. For state leagues, states can contact representatives and senators in the U.S. House and Senate and an executive branch offices, but you have to consult with national before you do that. For the National League, we are in control, or we own the U.S. Congress and all the other executive branches, offices, federal agencies, and actual federal courts as well. And then we do this, we get permission from the LWVUS board and through our membership agreement from Impact on Issues Policies positions. So I hope that's clear. Basically, if you don't know, just ask and we'll help you out. The way to request to take federal action is through the federal action request form. The slides I've already sent them on to Christina and Sandy and Denise and folks, so you'll have them, and they all have the links in here, so you can click on them. But the federal action request form is for advocacy actions, and it's also for actions in the federal courts. Anytime you want to communicate with a federal elected official or appointed official, you want to write an op-ed to a national paper like the Washington Post or the LA Times or the New York Times. You want to join a national coalition, participate in a national press conference or rally, file federal litigation. You want to use this form. And it's pretty easy to use. And since, as I said, I'm about to celebrate 14 years here, it has existed the entire time I have been here, but we have worked to make upgrades and additions to the form to make it better and make it more usable for you all and give us additional information so that we can respond to your requests as quickly as possible. So in the context of advocacy, federal actions include communicating with a federal elected or appointed official, like I said, writing that op-ed, joining a national coalition, participating in a national press conference or rally. Sometimes we have members of Congress who reach out to state or local leagues to participate in press conferences that they're doing when they're back home in district. And so we like to know about that so that if we see them on the Hill, and they say, oh, hey, I talked to the Kalamazoo League. I can say, oh, great. Yeah, I know. Somebody told me about that already. So when in doubt, just use the federal action request form, and we work to turn that around to you within 48 hours. So 48 business hours. If you send it on a Friday, I probably won't get back to you until Monday. But we work to turn those around, and there's a crew of us who receive them. So if someone's out of the office, we'll make sure that the other person is covering them. Okay. So we do all of our work through our public policy positions, which, as you, I hope, all know, are formulated through consensus process. Our public policy positions really give us the authority to take action on an issue on behalf of our leagues across the country. And this means that the league does not act on an issue on which we do not have a position. There are not that many positions we don't have, but there are a few. We have a lot. And our positions, of course, are developed from multi-year studies, although we're working on a way to get that down to less than 2 years, and through research and best practices. The positions are adopted by, the studies are adopted by league delegates every 2 years. At the league's national convention, and they given final approval from the LWVSB board after a study is conducted. Some of you may have participated in the federal judiciary study earlier this year. That was our most recent study, and we did that in less than a year, which is pretty good. Our positions ensure that we have member understanding and agreement on our national positions, and ensures we're speaking with one voice at the national office. LWVS positions drive organization-wide work broadly and can be used by all leagues to do work at their respective levels of government. So I know I know that state and local leagues also have their own positions, but a reminder that LWVUS positions belong to every level of league because you have participated in the studies, you have participated in the adoption of them, and you can use them to fit within your own local communities. And then, of course, positions help us ensure that the league is implementing consistent messaging and strategies on nationwide issues. And we often refer to that as speaking with one voice. LWVUS program, which is the program planning process has begun / about to get started for LWVUS. A program is set every other June during national convention for the next biennium. It's the education and advocacy platform that we use to move our mission forward. It ensures issue uniformity across the country, across all leagues across the country. And of course, leagues meet to review LWVUS program and propose additional issue foci through a process called program planning. Some of you may have joined the first program planning webinar last week, just to get things started and talk about how the process goes. I will tell you that the leader's guide for LWVS program planning is coming very soon. We have been working on it, and will be done in time for you all to start your meetings on that in January, with a deadline in March to get your final forms ready. And if you have questions about the program planning process, I'm happy to try to answer them later. And then, of course, through program, we adopt new positions through concurrence and through study. And the national positions and impact on issues puts the bold language out there for the positions that are adopted by our membership through the convention process, but they also include a history of action. So we have approximately 50 positions, and I think the most important part of impact on issues, at least for me sometimes, is not only what the position says, but how the position has been applied in the history section. It is the publication, which is updated every 2 years, and we just updated it last fall in what I believe to be record time, about 3 months. We read through every single position. We read through the history of every single position. We update it based on actions that have been taken in the last biennium. We add new positions that may have been adopted at the previous convention. It is a well-run machine at this point, but we did it in 3 months last year. I hope that they don't hold me to that standard for the next time around, but it is designed to help league members use the positions effectively at the national, state, local, and even the regional levels for our interleague organizations, or ILOs. And it has also, as I mentioned earlier, has that section called Taking Action, with general guidance on league advocacy, including how state and local leagues can take action on federal issues. It encompasses under 4 different large policy areas, including representative government, international relations, natural resources, and social policy. A reminder that, and I don't think you need a reminder in these crazy times, but of course, the league is a political organization, but we are nonpartisan. Our positions do stand the test of time because they are issue-based, and they have no connection to political parties. They are the thoughts and feelings of our members at the time when they are developed. They can be updated or even removed at any time if our membership wishes to do so during the program planning process. So there's also a summary of the public policy positions, which is I think it's even before the taking action section, which gives you 2 or 3 little sentences about the position. So if you need like a quick view, that's a good place to go. And if you want to learn more, flip into the book to find the larger position itself. So that's program. Then we also do this thing called legislative priorities. So program is the set in a biennium that starts in June and goes to, well, I guess it's really adopted in June, but starts in July and then goes through the end of the convention, the next convention. And then we also do this thing called legislative priorities. Legislative priorities are set annually, so on an annual calendar year. And they are the specific issue areas for concentration. They are suggested by LWVUS national staff who are working on federal legislation, and they are finalized and approved by the LWVUS board based on that recommendation. Our legislative priorities really serve as a playbook or a guide for lobbying and advocacy efforts in the U.S. Congress during legislative session. Legislative priorities can either be in support or opposition to efforts to change a particular law or regulation. And in addition, state and local leagues may have their own legislative priorities. But of course, remember, as we talked about earlier, you all may only take action within the corresponding level of government unless you fill out that federal action request form. So this year, we really threw a lot into legislative priorities. And these are the approved legislative priorities for 2025. Of course, we know that league boards at every level set their own legislative priorities, and ours are adopted by our board. And these are listed on the league management site. And they include, that's a lot, implementing the campaigns for making democracy work and women defend democracy, which includes advocating for policy issues around voting rights, DC autonomy, improving election administration, protecting against dark money in politics, and supporting the 2030 census. And then we add on protecting democratic institutions and the rule of law, protecting reproductive freedoms, including access to abortion care and women's healthcare decisions, those private decisions they make, and responding strategically. This is our watch list area, which do we even need the watch list? I'm not sure, but apparently we do because it includes things like immigration, climate change, gun safety, the Equal Rights Amendment, healthcare, and attacks on DEI. So we will definitely try to pare this back. I think at the beginning of this year, we knew we had a new Congress and a new administration, and I will tell you, we've done work on every single one of these issues at some point. So we've been very busy. This is so this slide can get confusing, but this is a way to know like what level of league can use what positions. So a local league can use their local positions, they can use their state positions, and you can use LWVUS positions. A state league can use the state positions and the LWVUS positions, and then National League can use LWVUS positions. So this is kind of like, I can only be an expert on LWVUS positions, and we have plenty of them. But if you add in all the local positions and state positions that we have across the country, I can't be an expert on all of those. But there's a lot of positions that you all are the experts on. So we know that you all put together your own positions and that go beyond positions of LWVUS as long as they don't conflict. And these of course, allow you all to take action in your local communities on issues that are important to you. And the level of league, of course, determines the level of government advocacy that a state or local league can conduct. So maybe this might have gone in a different part of the presentation. But and then additionally, we have some guidance in the taking action section on applying a DEI lens to our work. We recommend that leagues apply a DEI lens to any public policy position that you're using. And what does that mean? It means it's applying a DEI lens is a way of examining a program, a process, a product, or otherwise with an eye towards how it will be perceived and how it will impact a variety of communities, voices, and perspectives. And then again, it also helps identify what barriers may exist that prevent it from being equitable or inclusive to everyone. So when examining work through a DEI lens, we like to ask ourselves a few questions. And as you can see on this slide, there are links. This is highlighted on impact on issues on page 5. We also have a webinar recording and slides that we've done in the past as well. But the questions that we ask ourselves when examining our work through a DEI lens include who is involved in the process. So what groups, what communities, who is involved in the process, who will be impacted, what communities, what racial groups will be impacted, what are the likely intended and unintended outcomes? So thinking about it broadly. And then, does this align with our vision for an equitable and inclusive organization? And then what changes would we make to improve equity? We did, as I said, put on a webinar on this in May of 2023. And there's a recording and slides that you can view, or you can check out Impact on Issues page 5 for additional information. This is a way for us to just examine our work through a DEI lens and make sure that we are seeing the whole picture before we jump into a policy issue area. So I talked a lot about what we've got, but here's some ideas for what folks can do right now, including plugging into the Unite and Rise 8.5 initiative. Which is our national initiative to mobilize 8.5 million people against an authoritarian regime. There is some research out there from a person named Erica Chenoweth from Harvard that 3.5% of people are what you need to push back against an authoritarian regime. And the league did very early on declare a constitutional crisis. And as part of that, launched the Unite and Rise 8.5 initiative. So we're working with all of you all to motivate and mobilize 8.5 million people to push back against the authoritarian regime that we find ourselves in. Additionally, what other actions can you take? You can respond to LWVUS action alerts. There is a section on the website where we keep them all, and that's linked here, and you'll get that in the follow-up. You can connect with your state league about state legislative actions and alerts. I know your state league is working very hard to keep track of their legislature and all of the some of the federal interference that seems to be happening in some states across the country. So make sure you're plugging into your state action alerts and your state advocacy opportunities by working closely with your state league. You can start a local observer corps, and here in this link is a little bit of information about how you can do that. You know, transparency and government observation is one of the most important things that we can do because people need to know, we need to watch our government and make sure we know what they're doing in order to either stop it or support it. So you can launch an observer corps at the local level. Participate in election observation. Denise was telling me earlier this week that y'all have a great election observation system across the state. But there's also a little bit of more information on if you want to do more in your own state or own locality, how you can do that. Of course, the best thing my favorite thing the league does, register voters all across your communities. You can also share educational resources on social media, and there's a link for some educational resources that we have available on the league management site. And then, I think one thing that we maybe are forgetting about is connecting with our neighbors and finding out about what our communities care about. So holding forums, holding meetings to connect directly with not only your neighbors and your coalition partners, with within communities that may be affected by moves around redistricting or moves around changes to voting laws or any about water issues, which I know are a big local issue. Find out what your neighbors care about and talk to them about how they can be a part of the league to help respond to it. But it should have also put recruit new members as well. And then finally, the LWVS has a variety of support materials that we put together. There's some links here to the league management site. We have in the middle here, we have this Advocacy 101 modules, which are like how to write testimony, how to talk to your legislators. They're very, very basic and I think helpful and useful to everyone. There's also, making sure that you're signed up for the league update. We have bi-weekly legislative office hours, which anyone can join. You can get ask questions about positions. You can ask questions about a specific issue to your local or state community. We're always there. We're just hanging out at answering questions as they come in. So even if you don't join right at the top of the hour, someone should be there for the entire time. We have our advocacy action kits. We've been developing these on specific policy issues, and in particular around specific policy issues that we see popping up in multiple places around the things include things like mid-cycle redistricting, includes documentary proof of citizenship requirements. We have one on LGBTQIA plus communities and fighting back against legislation that undermines those communities. We have a reproductive rights one that's coming out soon. So we have, I think we're going to have close to 12 of those popping up on the league management site, and there's a landing page where you can find all of them. We also have a bunch of previous advocacy webinars, some and new ones that are coming. And then we also, can you guys hear me still?
Yes. Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, great. Okay, I thought my headphones died for a second. We do anything related to position interpretation, legislative tracking. We can help you with that if that's what you need. We can write testimony for you. We can give you an analysis of a bill. We can help you develop advocacy strategy. And you can ask all those questions by emailing advocacy@lwv.org, or you can email me directly. My email is jjones@lwv.org. Feel free to reach out. And if I can't help you, someone, one of those wonderful, lovely people on that first slide there will help you. You also can get litigation support by emailing litigation@lwv.org, or our mobilization and engagement support, which is our organizing team, organizing@lwv.org. If you want to mobilize and get a large amount of people out to do something, they are experts at that. So lots of different things that we have available, but I'm going to be quiet now and
You want to
answer any
stop sharing
questions.
and stop sharing, and I'll see if
Yeah.
there are any questions. Okay, so I don't see any questions in the chat. You want to raise your hand if you have a question? I have a couple. Unless I see someone raise their hand right away, I'm going to ask. So one of the things that I know is often a conundrum for us is the issue of what can members in what can local leagues put in their newsletters and requests to their members about a federal action that there's no specific action alert on. So I guess the way I look at it, and I'll just tell you what I think, and you can tell me if that's close. Some members can send emails to Congress as individuals, as they want, not as league members on any issues. But a local league should not be urging its members to take federal action as league members without an action alert from the LWVUS.
Yes.
Okay.
I think that's an excellent summary. Yeah, we really try to make sure we're speaking with one voice, that we are activating and motivating and mobilizing our members on key issues that we know that we have member understanding and agreement on, and that our league cares about. We try not to not waste your time, but we try to keep things focused on what is happening in the Capitol as much as we possibly can. I don't want to over mobilize people and get people frustrated. So yes, the answer is please share our action alerts in your newsletters. If you want to take action by writing a letter to your state representative, and you've already talked to your state representative, if you wanted to your congressional representative, or you want to mobilize people on something else, you have to talk to LWVUS about it and your state league about it before you do it.
Okay, great. And then that will begin the process of doing this federal action request form. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. And it looks like Christina has her hand raised.
Yes, thank you. Jessica, you may have answered this, but it's been a while since I've used the federal request form. And does it require that it go through the chain of communication through the state league as it goes to you? Please remind me of how that process works.
Yes, that's a great question. We ask in the form if it's a local league requesting action, if you have communicated with your state league about it. If it is unclear to us, we will always loop in the state league to make sure that it is okay with them as well, especially if it is to a U.S. senator, because that's a statewide elected official. So we will always loop in the state league to make sure that they're also on board with the request.
Thank you. Susan Hannah has her hand up.
Yes. I want to take advantage of you, not so much from the league point of view, except indirectly. We're encouraged to write our congressman on various topics, whether we identify ourselves as a league member, not so much just to contact them under the Unite and Rise initiative, for example. Okay, I live in northern Michigan. It's a pretty red area up here. Actually, that's not fair. It's kind of 60-40, but those of us in the 40 are just not represented. My congressman doesn't answer. I am writing, leaving voicemail messages, talking to staff into a void. So, do you have another, maybe more effective way, strategically, tactically, to let people know? For example, I was trying to contact our congressman who, when the Republican leadership says jump, he says how high, about extending healthcare benefits, which affect an awful lot of folks in our district. He doesn't even answer. So doesn't even say, thank you very much, you know. So is there another way? Is there a way to word it? What can I do?
So I think there's a couple of additional ways that you can contact your congressperson. Everybody has a district office, and you are welcome to show up at that office at any time because that office belongs to you. You might have to knock on the door or to get buzzed in, but like you should be able as a constituent to visit those offices. If you're visiting on behalf of the league, that's one thing. If you're doing it on as an individual, that's another, right? There's two opportunities, I think, to take action. So you can go directly to the office, and I know sometimes face-to-face stuff can be scary, but you're directly talking to somebody. Drop a postcard on the desk, a handwritten postcard that says, "This is why I'm here. This is what I care about. Thank you." It puts a face to a name, a face to a letter, so it's not, they don't think it's a bot. The other thing is find out where and when they're going to be home, and where they're going to be. If it's I know. If we can help with that, we will try. But if they're going to be home, if they're going to be at a fundraiser, if they're going to be at a town hall, if they're going to an event at a school, like you have opportunity, you may have the opportunity those events. And then the other thing I think that is often underutilized is social media. Reaching, tagging them in posts, whether it be on any of the various social media platforms, Instagram, or commenting on their pages when they post something. There is a human behind all of those things. So I think that is also an underutilized opportunity that we have to connect with our elected officials.
Thank you, Jessica. I see Vicky has her hand raised. Vicky, you want to unmute and ask your question?
Yeah, hi. So my question is about the Unite and Rise campaign. So the playbooks we've been presented to at our advocacy meetings are very specific, lots of different details about what can be done. But my question really is that 8.5, you've used the word mobilize 8.5. What does that really mean? Because I've also heard it meant we're supposed to get 8.5 million more people registered to vote. And I've also thought it meant 8.5 people to be active. So what exactly are you meaning by the word mobilize?
I think mobilize is it can mean multiple things. And it could be register, when we broke it out, we actually broke it out into different categories. Like, here's how we can get to 8.5. Is it 8.5 new voters? Is it, 8.5 new registrants? Is it new people who haven't engaged with the league before, who want to come into the league and be part of our membership? Is it new donors? So it can mean a lot of things. Mobilize means a lot of things, as you know, and as you have fairly pointed out. And we've broken it down into different buckets. But at the end of the day, we want to mobilize 8.5 million people to push back against the authoritarian regime that we find ourselves in. Does that answer your question?
Well, if it has so many definitions, how are you going to count? How,
Mhm.
I mean, you want to have some kind of quantitative measure. Have we gotten to the 8.5 million? How are you handling that?
Yeah, so we have specific metrics that we have defined at the national office for, and they're owned by different teams within the national office. And we're pushing to get to different to those specific numbers. And we're doing that, this is not a thing that just the national office can do. This is something we have to do all together. And so we're doing that through reporting. There's a reporting form that we're using for the Unite and Rise playbooks. And we're combining it all on the back end.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. I see a couple of questions in the chat, but it looks like Denise has been answering them. The one about action alerts, probably, Jessica, you can answer this, but probably the best way to get national action alerts is go to the national website and you'll see where they are there. And then the State League also has a link to all the national and state action alerts.
And I'll say that we do have our email action alert system. We do have all of our members within our action alerts universe. Unless you have unsubscribed for some reason, please don't do that. But if you can always check with me if you feel like you may have been accidentally unsubscribed or you haven't been getting action alerts, and we can make sure that you're logged in or you're signed up to get them. But if you have provided your email to the National League, you should be receiving them.
Great. Let me just ask you a logistical question, Jessica. So there were some links in the PowerPoint presentation. You also sent a Adobe file that we can send out to people with your PowerPoint. Those will be active links.
Yes.
Okay, so we can get to the management site by using those links and right to the materials that you have.
Yes, and I tested them and they should work.
Oh,
if anybody has a problem with it, you've got my email. It's jjones@lwv.org, and I'm going to put it in the chat so you all can save it. And feel free to reach out at any time.
okay, so other questions right now for Jessica? I know that there's a lot to digest, and if anyone has questions later, they can certainly send them to Jessica or send them to me and Christina. We can get them over there. So I just want to take a little break now, give Jessica a chance to breathe. And I know that Denise wanted to talk about an upcoming training for documentary proof of citizenship and trying to stop the ballot, how to deal with the people gathering signatures.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks, Andy. So our partners at Promote the Vote Action, they've done one training already and they're offering another one. It's next week, Tuesday, December 2nd. And I think, Sandy, you said you're going to be able to put in the sign up link into the chat.
I'll go ahead and do that now. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is to help anybody in the league who's willing and interested to learn how to be able to observe and report on and possibly deflect people from signing the documentary proof of citizenship petition that in some areas apparently has been garnering quite a few signatures. I personally have not seen it in my town, but I guess they've been going to a lot of college towns and saying deceptive things and misleading people into signing it. So this is an effort to help get the story straight and also just to track them where the petition gatherers are going. So it would be great if you are willing, or if you know someone else who'd be willing to do this type of volunteer work, to go to that training.
Thank you, Denise. And then did you want to mention something about the upcoming panel discussion that we're going to have?
Yes. So this is a fantastic thing that Sandy is prompting us to organize. It's really a great thing. We're going to have a panel of some experts, both from our state and an attorney from the national level, to talk about really the threat that documentary proof of citizenship requirements pose. Like we need to know about that, like how that would affect our state. And then we'll also hear a bit about how it's been implemented, what impact that's had on voters, registered voters' ability to vote, or the ability of people to even to register to vote. So this will be on Wednesday, January 21st at 7 p.m. on Zoom. And I'm not sure we have the link yet, but we'll certainly be promoting that widely. And this is definitely for the public. So we want as many people to come as can. And we have space on Zoom for 300 people. So we want everybody to spread the word once we get that flyer finalized and sent out, which we're hoping will be fairly soon. So again, that's Wednesday, January 21st at 7 p.m. We'll have Chris Thomas, who used to be our state elections director, Melanie Macy, who's an attorney with Promote the Vote, who follows election law very closely and is well-versed in it. And then, oh my gosh, I'm going to forget her name. Valencia Richardson, maybe, who is from the Campaign Legal Center, who is well-versed in the documentary proof of citizenship, the legal cases that are going on. She is apparently arguing one that has to do with Louisiana. So we'll have some great expertise on that panel.
Great, great. And Christina put in the chat when our next meeting is going to be. I was skipping December. So our next meeting is going to be January 27th at 3 p.m. And if there aren't any more questions for Jessica, thank you so much, Jessica, for coming and speaking with us. It's been wonderful to have you here, and thank everybody for joining us. And we'll send a lot of information out to you and everyone who registered. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.
And thank you, Jessica, for a busy time of the month to join us. We appreciate that.